Good morning, everyone. My name is Janet Johnson, and I'm with Charter School Capital, and we want to welcome you to our presentation on Enrollment Marketing 101. Now, my co-presenter today is a gentleman by the name of Ben Scanlon. Ben, I'll let you introduce yourself if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my name is Ben Scanlon. I'm with Mosaic Marketing Solutions. And I'm really excited to speak to everyone today about enrollment marketing. It's something I've been doing for quite a few years now. And so just the idea of being able to enable children to find alternative education options and using enrollment marketing to do that is something I'm very passionate about. So we definitely appreciate your time and the opportunity to speak with you today.
That's great. Yeah, Ben and I have worked together for many years for several different organizations working on enrollment marketing. So we're delighted to be together today to work to talk with you about this. So basically, our agenda today, and in this hour, it's going to go very quickly, but we will share the slides. We always share the slides with everyone at the end, so you'll get a copy of the slides, a link to them. So that you can leverage them when we finish. But we're going to talk a little bit about our view of enrollment marketing. We're going to walk through strategies and tactics pretty quickly. We also have an ebook that Charter School Capital has put together with people like Ben to walk through in a more material manner the topics that we'll be talking about today. It's a digital marketing ebook, but you can apply all of those tactics to your enrollment marketing efforts. So we're excited to be able to share that with you as well if you don't already have it. So today's enrollment marketing is really talking to the right person at the right time, whether it be whether they're sitting at their laptop, sitting in a coffee shop, looking at their mobile phone, driving by your school. We need to be able to connect with them by providing an access to the people within your school in the moment that they're looking for it. In addition to finding new students and families to serve, you can actually raise the awareness of your charter school in your community with others like pediatric doctors, folks in the community, librarians, who may run into children and their families who might want to look at alternatives to the public school system that the traditional schools generally serve. So, and as you extend your reach out even further, you will have opportunities for fundraising and things like that that will be enhanced by your enrollment marketing efforts. So this is not just a moment in time, but actually kind of what we call an evergreen effort to improve the PR around your school, the visibility and awareness of your school. And you can actually leverage enrollment marketing tactics to help build awareness in your community at large.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Thinking more comprehensively about the things you're able to do with enrollment marketing really makes it even more of a powerful initiative to pursue as you head into enrollment season.
I agree, Ben. I mean, we need to think about our schools as kind of members of the community, and we serve the community beyond the children, especially as we become, the charter school movement becomes more and more entrenched in our communities. We are members of the community and need to share appropriately. So, first of all, and this may seem like a really basic thing, but your enrollment marketing efforts have to showcase your school's vision and your mission, which are all captured in your charter. So everything that you do has to actually support the charter of the school. Who are you to your students? What is the essence of what you bring to the educational environment in your school? How will you showcase how your teachers, your staff, your parents, your volunteers interact with the students, interact with each other, so that you can generate an excitement around the promise of your school? So beyond anything, we really want to make sure people are thinking about that first as they begin their enrollment marketing efforts. It's the essence of your school's brand, if you will.
And I think that's a great point. And regardless of what industry you're in, we often begin engagements by sitting down and making sure that their mission and vision is established and something that everyone is bought into, because it's such a powerful force multiplier through all of your marketing initiatives. And so I think this is like, if your school has not done this and gone through a good mission and vision exercise, I highly encourage you to do so, because it's just such a powerful motivator. When you talk about those audiences, it really just speaks to everyone, your different audiences, and really provides them inspiration and call to arms in what you're trying to do. It's such a powerful exercise to go through.
I agree, Ben, and it's something that people actually don't think about as much as I think they should, especially when we're really trying to reach different audiences with similar messages. So that's kind of a complex thing that we need to think about as we're beginning our enrollment marketing efforts, because generally, and especially if you're attracting younger students, you're trying to attract millennial moms and dads who take in the information in a very different way than some folks of us who are older are used to. Gone are the days when people actually watch, the millennials anyway, watch TV, get their information from newspapers. They're always on their cell phones. They're always getting information via social media, etc. Differently, the grandparents and other caregivers who may be older, like I am, might get their information about your school and your community in a very different manner. We might listen to the radio. We might, listen to television a little bit more. Not that you're going to be, running commercials on TV, but you might be able to actually have a TV personality come into your school and do a little bit of a profile to reach the older folks who have influence on your enrollment marketing efforts. In addition, we need to actually think about the press and other influencers, community influencers in your area, your board of directors, and then most importantly, how are we going to showcase what's going on inside of our schools to prospective students? That's very, very important. So we want to have you have an ear to what's going on with all the different audiences as you're thinking about your efforts. And there's an old adage that we've used a lot. You can't manage what you can't measure. So what we want you to think about is, if you are trying to attract, say, 100 new schools or 100 new students to your school, we want to have you break that down and make sure that we understand that in order to get 100 new students by the start date of the school, how many do you expect to get each month? Setting those goals will help you actually be able to hit them as we go along. And it will also allow you to really understand if you need to put 20 children in kindergarten and first grade and then only 10 students in sixth grade, for example, it'll help you tune your efforts to know when you need to attract a different kind of audience, a different set of parents. So we want you to think about setting goals and objectives for your enrollment marketing efforts early on. And Ben's going to show you how he captures goals in this little spreadsheet. I'll let you talk about your building a plan, Ben.
Yeah, no, thanks, Janet. And it's a great point. And you sort of, I love the way that this is laid out, because when I think about enrollment marketing, I'm really thinking about a conversation, and it's about, who are you talking to, what your school is about, what challenges are the people that you're talking to experiencing, and making sure you address that. And so it's so much more than just the tactics. And so I always encourage people, and this is true regardless, again, of industry, and this is one of the most common gaps I find, is that marketing organizations haven't put together a comprehensive plan around what they're trying to accomplish. They are very focused on individual tactics and what they expect to get from that, but really tying them all together to understand how it's performing. And so that's so important, is to look at each individual tactics, try to understand what you expect to get from a return from them in terms of enrollments or whatever your goal is, how confident you are in that, and what's the cost associated with that. And I think some of these things, and here I have sort of just an example of a plan. things include like leading indicators. And so the goal here is so you understand, here's the plan I'm putting in place, and just go into it knowing that it's not gonna be right. It's not gonna be 100% right. I've never seen a marketing plan that was executed the way that you anticipated. So go into it expecting to see change. And so as a result of that, it's really important to know what are some of the leading indicators that are going to indicate that you may not get the performance you're expecting out of your individual marketing tactics, and what can you do to adjust. And so that's the key, is knowing what you expect to return. The plan you put in place is going to get you to your goals, but if it doesn't play out exactly the way you anticipate, how do you make those adjustments so you can bring in new tactics, optimize it in a different fashion, so that ultimately you're able to achieve that goal at the cost anticipated up front. And it's really about moving from uncertainty to predictability in your marketing efforts. That's such an important thing to understand, to get to a place where it's predictable, because that just reduces everyone's anxiety around marketing. It reduces their anxiety around enrollments. Obviously, budgets are really dependent on how many students you bring in. It just has multiple effects. And so what can you do to get from uncertainty to predictability through your marketing? And that really is based in this plan and looking at the indicators and being able to make adjustments. And so I highly encourage, regardless of, again, every organization to go establish this long-term plan with different tactics and be prepared to make changes as you go through the enrollment season.
Yeah, that's a really important point, that things are fluid. They will always change, and that's why enrollment marketing can be so exciting. Every year is going to be slightly different. So keeping a little bit abreast of what's going on in your community, making sure that you are asking for referrals, things like that, those are the kinds of things that will set you up for success. But always be measuring, always be testing, and making sure that you are, leading to your goals. We're going to jump into some strategies and tactics now, and we're going to talk a little bit about the funnel, as it were, of enrollment marketing. The funnel is served well by different kinds of activities at different areas. First, you have to build awareness. Then you start engaging with the families, and then you start to convert them into, yeah, I really do want to send my child to your school. I'm going to enroll them. And then as they show up, they stay with you and they refer you to other families. So this is kind of a simple funnel that we use. And at the very top of the funnel, the things that work best for generating awareness and engagement are your website, showing up in search, and then some parts of paid media, whether it be paid Facebook ads or paid Google ads or those kinds of things, movie theater ads you might consider. Just what is going on in your community that will be well served by these different activities. And then moving down the funnel, once you've started to have engagement with prospective parents or students, email is a very effective method to keep them engaged and to give them more information about your school and what's going on and the enrollment season and the activities that you're holding to introduce families to your school. And then certainly social media is a very important tactic to use in this engagement and conversion space, because parents especially and caregivers are looking for others who've had experience with your school. They're reading reviews. They're trying to figure out how would my child fit in here and thrive. So having a full-fledged group of activities at the awareness and engagement and conversion levels will indeed lead to that happy family with their loyalty and the follow-on kids, bringing them into school, the brothers and sisters, etc. So that's really what we're looking for. And most importantly for the enrollment marketing season, especially as we get into the spring and summer areas, being able to see the staff, to meet the teachers, to meet the director of the school, to actually be able to walk the grounds, to have events so that parents and their students can come and meet the people associated with the school is going to be very, very important. So we're going to kind of go through each one of these quickly so that we can talk through some highlights and give you a checklist of ideas for each of these tactics at each of these areas.
And one of the things related to the funnel is mapping the audiences that Janet had talked about previously against the funnel to understand what sort of message they'd want at each stage throughout the funnel. Because a parent in the awareness phase is going to have different concerns than the student will in the awareness. The parent may be concerned is this school safe, or what sort of education is my child going to get? The student during the awareness phase may want to know, are my friends going there? And so mapping those audiences against these different phases in the funnel is a really powerful technique to make sure the messaging you're developing is moving them forward and down this funnel, so you're ultimately converting them. So matching those two things up, the personas, as we say in marketing, which is the audience you're speaking to, against where they are in their decision-making cycle, is really allows you to develop very effective messaging through the funnel to make sure that you're getting them to loyal families, loyal to your school.
That's a really important point. At the top of the funnel, we really want to get the image of the school out, the ethos of the school, your vision, your mission. But as we move through the funnel, we want to make sure people really understand other parents love what their child learns at this school. The students love the experience of the schools. They love their teachers, et cetera, et cetera. And then being able to actually come and meet these people are very, very important. So different messages to the different areas of the funnel are the things that you need to be paying attention to. So as Ben mentioned, as we create our plan, we need to have plans for what those messages are each way through the funnel as we work. So Ben, would you talk about the foundation of everything here in enrollment marketing?
Well, we definitely live in a digital age, and I think your website is so foundational to every activity, actually throughout the funnel, and regardless of persona virtually. Your website is really going to be the sort of center of communication. And so making sure that you get your website correct is just critically important. I think the place that you start here is not so much, and we'll talk about this a little bit, it's not so much with like technology or what platform are you using or anything like that. It's really thinking about answering the questions that your prospects have. And so I think a really important place to start is even something so simple. Think about how you buy something or how you research something. Let's start something with something so simple like, is this school for me from a prospect standpoint? Is this, will this, and you think about something simple like a parent has a student with an IEP. Like, does this school serve people with IEP? So it's when someone first comes to your website, they just have some very basic questions that you need to make sure that you answer very directly and very clearly. They don't have to go search for it, because the basic questions are, is this school for me? And then why should I go to school? So make sure as you're looking at your website that you take the time to clearly answer those and make that information very, very visible, because those are just basic questions. And a lot of times, based on our experience, a lot of times people really latch on to things that are tangible, that they really understand. A lot of times you'll get into pedagogy, which is important, but people may not understand that as quickly. And so they really want to understand the basics very, very quickly and make sure that's very, very present and people are able to interact with that very clearly.
Yeah, so here's an example of a website that would support the fact that this is actually a very arts-focused school. It happens to be here in Oregon, and the children at this school actually learn through the arts, and the arts kind of go through each kind of class that they take. So it was very important for them to actually show that your first blush at the website itself really gives an image of what they're going to find inside when they start to dig deeper into it. So Ben, do you want to run through the checklist for folks?
Yeah. So as you sit down, I think the first place you absolutely start is really, establishing what you're trying to say, establishing your design. And that should really be a reflection, going back to what we talked about earlier, your vision and your mission, and make sure that ties in with what you're doing, visually, what you're actually establishing. And so thinking about what your design of your website, even looking back upon, I'm sure, an existing website, what does that look like now? Like, how are people in your existing website? What sort of feedback have you gotten? And then thinking, as we work through this, thinking about your content. Content is really the currency of the internet now, and it's critical from a messaging standpoint. So what content is necessary to support talking to those personas, and thinking about the funnel. So make sure that you have an information architecture, you have content that really reflects, speaking to the individual audiences through each stage. And then thinking about the visitor experience. At the end of the day, this is really about user experience. I mean, we're talking about digital marketing tactics or marketing tactics. I think, in this world we live in now, marketing is really just about user experience. It's about customer experience. It's making sure you're accounting for what sort of experience they're going to go through. And then once you go through and address those sort of foundational items, that you have a design that really reflects your vision and mission. You have content that reflects the challenges that your audience are going through. Answer. And then think about the user experience they want. Then think about the technology you need to support that. And then, of course, you think about mobile. Start with mobile in mind, because most searches are done now with mobile devices. Janet talked earlier about millennial audiences. They're always on the phone. So that's really critical. And Google actually went through and said, what we're going to do is prioritize mobile. So making sure you have that great mobile experience is so important in this day and age, and absolutely critical. And then, of course, going through and testing. I just want to put in a note here to make sure you, your Google Analytics, I'm going to get technical here for a second, but it's so critical. Make sure that your web analytics tool is set up correctly, not just so you understand where people are coming from and how they're using your website, but even to make sure that you're measuring things like conversion events on your website, filling out requests for more information or requests for open houses. That your website and the ability to track performance on your website is so critical for all of your enrollment efforts. You need to make sure you take the time to get that right. It's going to be challenging to get it right even into the future.
That's so true. And let me just pause for a moment and say it used to be very expensive to set up a new website. The website that we just showed you here is the little Mitch website, probably cost about $10,000 to create, because they went outside their organization. But you actually may have people who are volunteers for your school or people on staff for your school who could use one of these tools like Squarespace or Wix or Brand Genie or WordPress to come up with a brand new website, and it won't cost as much as you can imagine it used to. So don't be afraid to look into this, and don't be afraid to tap your resources in your school to see how you might be able to bring up an older website into a more modern technology. It's a lot easier, and a lot more people know how to do it now than they used to.
That's a great point. That's a great point. It's a great point that a lot of times the people that your stakeholders will have, be able to capture your voice in the field better than other people. And so, the only other thing I just want to add on the website, make sure that everything's buttoned up. You talk about testing, is because it's really a reflection of your brand and around the idea of how effective you're going to be in educating the prospect's child. So you want to make sure that's really a reflection that my website is good, buttoned up. It's educating prospect, and so that it reflects your brand and the fact that your school will be great at educating their children as well.
That's right. It's your first impression. It's a digital one, but it's oftentimes the very first impression that anybody's going to have for you.
Yeah.
And then this is one of Ben's. He geeks out over this, so we're going to have to watch our time here because it's really fun to get him excited around search engine optimization. You may have heard of something called SEO, but it's actually, in very simple terms, and Ben's going to talk you through this a little bit, how your website shows up in search.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And so, and I'll talk a lot about Google because Google's the, 1,000-pound gorilla in the organic search world now. It used to be more evenly distributed, but Google's really sort of dictating the rules of the game now. And so I talk a lot about that, though people do use some of the other. But the powerful thing about organic search is that these are people who are going into one of the search engines and entering a search term. And it's the results, and we'll go into a little more detail on this, but it's the results that come back from that. And the power of this is that the fact that it's, once you put it in place, is that it's actually free. Each additional click won't cost you anything additional. And so investing here is really critical. And because of that fact, the other aspect of this is that it's really a reflection of the content that you're developing. And so it's, like I mentioned before, it's a currency of the internet. And so you want to make sure that you're developing strong, like meaningful content, and then you'll be able to do that from an organic search standpoint. So it's more than just the tactics, the search engine optimization. It's really, at the end of the day, it really comes back to what you're doing for user experience, and are you answering? That's the best way to think about it. It's easy to get tied to specific tactics, but it's really much more important. I think you're doing a good job of thinking about, are you answering the user's questions in an effective fashion? And if the answer to that is yes, then your organic improve. The tactics behind that can get fairly complicated, but that's the fundamental aspect of search engine optimization.
And I might just add, you may find someone in your organization, whether it be a teacher or a staff member or a volunteer or a parent, who might know a lot about this in your community. It used to be kind of a mysterious art, but more and more people are understanding it a little bit more. And, you can also just search for SEO information and find a lot of it online. So it's a dark art that is being more and more, it used to be a dark art that's being more and more leveraged by people, because it really does work to the school's benefit if you can get on the first page of a search.
Yeah. And then here is I love the screen here, and Janet put this together because one of the important things, so here it's showing that someone searched for charter school near me, and this is such an important search and such an important concept, because for what you're doing, it's really all local search, and so which means there's multiple complexities to this, and so it's like such a great typical search. These near me searches have exploded in recent years. It's just going to continue to increase with mobile phone usage, quite honestly. And so I love this screenshot because it shows someone went in, did a typical search, charter school near me. You can see that these local packs are returned first with those initial results there with the map and the star, the listings with the stars. So that's a Google My Business result, which is Google asks you, this is critically important, to make sure that you created a local business presence or local presence through Google, which is called Google My Business, and it shows up in the top of the search results for these local searches. And for what you're doing, it's almost all local searches. Then below that is your organic results, which is the sort of traditional area where SEO, but you can see the amount of real estate given to traditional organic search results has really been diminished, especially in this local search arena. And so it's really important to think first that we're talking about local search, and then think about things you can do on top of it to improve your organic search results. And as I mentioned before, it's really about user experience. It's really about answering people's questions in effective fashion. And so, this is just a picture of what search, the search environment that you'll be looks like.
Yeah, and I'd like to add that a lot of school leaders kind of mistakenly type in the name of their charter school, and sure, they show up, oftentimes, but most parents don't know the name exactly. It's like, this is a very typical search, charter school near me. So I would encourage every one of you to do that search when we're finished here and see what comes up. And if you don't come up in this Google My Business result, there are some tricks to getting in there. Number one, you have to set it up with Google. Number two, look at the number of parent references that are here. Those 4-star and 5-star reviews are really important. So you have to mobilize your parents to get into this box. So there's a whole bunch of little things that you need to unpack as you're starting to do a little bit more generic searches that come up a little bit differently than you might expect as you're looking at how your school shows up. This is another typical search that a lot of parents go through. And Ben, you know, the difference here is it's the organic result is pushed down even farther, and a paid ad shows up. So, and during the summer months, paid ads show up even more and more. And so, you know, this result is very, very different from what you might expect. Whether you start in February or you're in the middle of August, you'll see a very, very different result, which is why Ben keeps saying test and test and test and test. Every week you should be checking where you're showing up in search.
Right, absolutely. And you can see here, this is another great one. This search is getting more specific as it says in city, but this is a really important point from a search engine optimization standpoint. Like Google's got very smart in terms of understanding what they're doing about. But there are things out there, there's things that really will improve your search results. And so just as a general framework, there's three really critical factors. One is the authority of your website, which is just how big it is in the industry. And then the other thing is the relevance of the content that you're actually serving. So making sure that what you're serving is answering this search specifically. And then the final thing is to make sure that's optimized so Google knows what it's about. And so this is a great example. If you think which geographies you serve, you want to make sure that the search engines know that if you're serving the surrounding counties, that you put the tactics in place. Google knows that you serve counties too, and not just specific not the specific address that you're serving. And so that's when you get into some, you know, more advanced techniques to think about. If you're serving a specific geography, what can you do to expand your search results to make sure Google reflects the fact that you're serving these other areas as well? So that's one of the things you think about search, making sure that you're developing a very strong local search presence through some of these tactics will be really important.
And those tactics are things like writing a blog post about the different counties that you serve. It doesn't have to be really mysterious. It's really just, Ben keeps talking about content. You have to be able to show content that will explain to both parents and the search engines who you serve and where. So that kind of content on your website that really simply explains the students you serve from X number of counties or X number of, you know, miles around will really help Google, you know, kind of understand, as well as prospective parents, understand the students you serve and the area that you serve.
Absolutely, and I think it's a great point. You know, Janet has a saying, and I forget exactly, but you know, put your parents' eyes on, or something like that. And so, and that's a great point. Thinking about content, just thinking about what questions they would have that they would ask, and just going through and making sure that you answer those questions. So thinking about from a parent's perspective, so is there a charter school in X county, or where can my student, again, going back with an IEP, where can they attend? Making sure that you answer all these questions from a content perspective is really a great place to start.
That's right.
Go
ahead, Ben.
Oh, yeah, sorry. And here is actually, this is niche.com, but it's one of the school rating sites. And here's just a great thing about expanding what you think of traditionally about search. Niche. There's also like there's a number of websites, and it doesn't necessarily just even need to be school review websites, but it's great to think about other opportunities, and then thinking about engaging with your parents to review your school is just absolutely critical. And being proactive with it, we find a lot of organizations are hesitant to weigh in here because they're like, what if I get a negative review? That's just the absolutely wrong way to think about it. You should actually engage with your parents so they go in and give those positive reviews. It's much better. In fact, even research shows, like through Amazon, to see a few, just they want to see that it looks like truthful from a review standpoint. So the wrong way to think about it is like, what if I get a negative review? The right way to think about it is how can I engage with my parents, go have as many reviews as possible, just so it's a reflection of school.
And negative reviews will happen. They do. And what you can do about them is just get more parents who've had favorable experiences go out and do the reviews themselves. It's really important. And in today's day and age, like Ben said, you need to have a holistic view of what the school is. And no one is perfect in this day and age. So just know that. You're going to get some complainers here and there. But if the majority of your parents are happy and they've reviewed you, people will see through the negativity, for sure. So in terms of a checklist, Ben, you want to walk through quickly, kind of remind everybody what we said here.
Yeah, this is really just a reflection of what I said earlier. It's really about thinking about user experience, and here's some of the individual items that actually create that great user experience. And in doing that, you'll really boost your organic search results. Even if you do nothing else, accounting for the items on this checklist from a user experience standpoint will really boost your results.
Yep, really important. Then another tactic that we have here in schools, obviously nobody has a lot of money to spend on enrollment marketing efforts, but it is really critical to put some effort behind this because, the students have to show up in the fall. So paid media is a great way to kind of hit that very top of the funnel, very awareness area. We're going to talk with you about a few different kinds of paid media efforts. Even if you have $500 to $1,000 to spend carefully, it's important to do so.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Ben, you want to walk through a little bit of paid search?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And one of the things that I would say is that, in the past, I would say you have to be very careful about even starting paid search but it's just in this day and age, it's really evolved to be just like sort of a ticket to play in your marketing plan. Like you just need to have this as a tactic. The primary reason is because all these things work together, all these tactics work together, and together make them all more effective. And so paid media is one of those things. Paid advertising, digital advertising is one of those things that Google just recognizes, and it will improve all of your other efforts as well. Kind of a strange thing, but absolutely true. And so,
sorry, Ben, I'm going to rush us through a little bit of this. So,
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, yeah.
So moving beyond just buying keywords is looking at banner ads. These are the ones that you see on each website. The way that you buy these things is very similar, but the results can be different, and these have different. They support different goals. Like this really helps with awareness and kind of distinguishes you from maybe some other schools that you're in your area. Retargeting is this is if someone's visited your website or you're aware of them, to build a list. You'll see this often. If you've been to a website, you might find ads for that website on every other website you go to after that, and that's what retargeting is. It can be a very effective tactic because you're talking to someone interested in your school before, and thinking about the funnel experience. Just think what you can do to advance them in the funnel because they've been to your website, so maybe the messaging should be slightly different than you would do for the very top of the funnel user.
That's right.
Social ads are, the ability to target within social media is just so amazing right now. You're going to be talking to someone who is in your audience because of the amazing targeting abilities. And so thinking about that, like we have mapped out, like specific zip codes, to mom, specific age range. You can target on their interest, target them, job title. There's so much you can do out there in terms of treating from a social ads perspective. That's really interesting and something that I would definitely make sure you have in your toolkit.
And platforms like Facebook and others make it really easy to set up ads in social media. They kind of walk you through everything. So they force you through a function of defining who you are and where you are and the kinds of people that you want to attract to your site. So these are not necessarily mysterious, and I think even I could set up a social ad if I wanted to. So don't be afraid of going in and exploring a little bit about this. Again, most millennial parents are looking to social media. They're on social media all day, and they're looking for, information, what to buy, where to buy, etc. And then there are other kinds of paid media that you could look at. The Movers Guide up in the corner here will be sent to pretty much every new family that moves into your area. So perhaps that's something that you should explore, putting, a little bit of a postcard about your school into the Movers Guide to attract new families. Email newsletters, sponsorships for newsletters that go out in your community might be a good idea for your school. And then there are other websites out there like Nextdoor for some areas that are advertising options for neighborhoods that you might consider trying if you don't have a lot of money to spend, but that you have a very active community in a space like that. So think very much more broadly about your paid media advertising, and talk to new parents. Where did they find out about your school? Those are the kinds of vehicles that will be money best spent, I think. So Ben, you want to walk through the checklist?
Yeah. I think, getting back to that original idea around what your plan is through enrollment marketing is, tying it back obviously to your budget, what your goals are. And then again, we're bringing up content here. Content is so critical for digital marketing nowadays. And then obviously testing and optimizing. One item I would just add is just think about all these activities, again, work together. So sometimes you may find things that don't necessarily get the specific cost per enrollment that you're looking for, but actually helps and benefits you on other tactics. So something to just keep in mind is not always one-to-one in terms of the specific tactic and its return. There's an ecosystem around this. So making it test and optimize is critical.
That's right. Just pay attention to what's happening in each one of your channels. And as we move through the funnel, we're getting to an engagement phase. So email is a really fabulous tool still, in spite of, people saying, well, social media is the way to go, or if you just have a website, they will come. Email is a really effective way because parents who are currently in your school can pass along information to others just by forwarding an email. So you might think about in the springtime, sending an email to your current parents and saying, hey, we're going to be enrolling, new students for the fall. Pass this along to someone so that they can connect with us and make sure that they understand that, this school that your children have been so happy in is has some room in the fall. So email can be a very, very cost-effective. And, when you get an email from a friend or even an email from a neighbor, it's likely you're going to open it and read what they have to say. So think about this when you have an email, you've got an opt-in email list of all your parents today. Leverage them to go out after new parents just by asking them to forward this email to a few parents that they might know. This can be a really effective way to go. Do you have anything to add here about this one, Ben?
No, I just keep in mind just around the idea of conversation too. So making sure that you're having that conversation with them, and email is a great way to continue that conversation, especially to get lower in the funnel.
That's right, exactly. Now, make sure your email, and most email platforms, what they call email service providers, look really great on mobile today. MailChimp, Constant Contact, all of those folks do provide a really lovely mobile experience. So make sure that you are, using one of those and testing it on your own phones to make sure that, you're looking good once you get into the inbox. And when you can, use images that are, that represent your school. There are websites like Unsplash where they give you, free reign on images. So you don't necessarily have to pay for them. And just make sure that you just look as good as your school can possibly look. And for the folks who read email messages on their phone, when you put your copy or your text in a 15-point font, that's a really nice thing for the parents and folks who are and I'll admit, grandparents and caregivers who are a little bit older to be able to read your email. And then people if you get an email address where someone has not specifically said, hey, I want email from you, school leader, you can only email once. So that's what we call CAN spam compliance. So make sure that you are not over emailing anyone who has not opted into you. Just protect your school from making mistakes that way. And there's in the marketing ebook that we can send you a link to after this. Please know that we talk a lot about email in there, and you'll get a lot more detail around that there.
Yeah, I would just add, thinking about the mobile point is so important. You know, the number one email client by far now is that mail client on an iPhone. And so it's not just like, as you know, you get older, you're like, oh, mobile phones, you use it, but it's just so critically important. It's just amazing.
Yeah, so your email has to look good. They have to look good on mobile. They really do. So the email checklist, again, these tools in the additional resources box are really nice tools to use. They automatically look good on mobile devices. Make sure you're having smart conversations. Make sure you're engaging with your current parents to forward an email off to a new parent potentially. And make sure that you are only mailing to people that have opted in to get messages from you. Otherwise, you can get yourself in a little bit of hot water. And we don't want that. Okay, we're going to jump into social media quickly. This is really where people go to look for how other people feel about the school and frankly, how the school feels about themselves. It will, you know, basically what we want to do is show in social what the student experience is within the school walls. And it is something that can be very, very powerful for parents, especially new parents exploring several schools, to be able to see inside using social media. So one of the most important things you can do is to ask your current parents where they get their information. It used to be that everybody was on Facebook, and now I guess, Ben, wouldn't you say more people are on Instagram, especially the more millennial folks are?
Yeah, absolutely, it's amazing.
Yeah, so find out where your parents are, you know, hanging out these days in the social community, and make sure you have good content there. And in every single social platform that there is, photos, pictures, they truly are worth more than anything. You really need to represent your school well. So where you can show staff and students having fun, and you've got the right permissions from your students to show their photos and their parents to show their photos, do so. Because what we want to do here in social media is to have new parents think, I want my child to be a part of that school or that activity at that school. Make your social media that vibrant area where other people can see inside the school and see how fabulous the experience of going to that school is. So again, find out where your parents hang out and post there. And if you can, post something every day. You have a content machine inside your school. Things are going on. I walk through schools. There's a ton of artwork in the hallways. You know, a post every day shouldn't be too hard for someone, and maybe it's a staff member, maybe it's a volunteer, maybe it's a parent to help you do. And these additional resources over here, Hootsuite and Every Post and CoSchedule and Buffer, those help you post regularly because you can post in one area and it can spray out to a couple of different social channels. So please try to do something every day, and make sure you're posting photos. And in social media, I always like to make sure everybody knows, when in doubt about any kind of post, don't do it. So, if you're a little nervous about posting something a little funny or a little, I'm not sure if I have this parent's permission to post a picture of their child, don't do it. There's plenty of other things you can do. So if you've got that in my mind, maybe I should not do this, please don't. And we've heard horror stories all over the place about, social media faux pas, as it were. Anything else on this one, Ben, to add?
No, I mean, I would just support your point that you have a huge content machine within your school. I think that's a lesson I've just continued to learn over and over again, is finding, existing assets and resources, and use that from a content standpoint, and it really resonates with people, and it just makes your content efforts that much easier, that much more effective. So it's a great point, Janet.
Thank you. And again, in this digital marketing ebook that we have, we talk a lot more about social media. So please feel free to download that, and you'll get lots of examples, real-world examples that you can follow. And then really, really importantly, and Ben, you and I both recognize the value of this, as an enrollment marketing vehicle, there's nothing better than an event. And so during the height of the season, folks, make sure you are regularly holding open houses, making sure that you are, once in a while having an open, come have coffee with us at the local coffee house, meet the staff, meet some students. Make sure that you have plenty of face-to-face activities planned in your marketing for the spring and summer season, so that people can meet the staff. It's really important, and real life experiences, especially when parents are choosing a school for their child, are incredibly important. So they will create stronger connections than anything you can do in any of these other tactics that are higher in the funnel, which are critical to establishing awareness. But once you get that engagement, make sure you're driving people to events. Really, really important, because that people-to-people connection is what's going to cause a parent to say, yes, my child should go here. Anything more on that one, Ben?
No, it's just, it can't be emphasized enough. I think it's great.
Yeah. Make sure, too, that during this part of the year, you are offering up events that you can invite prospective parents to, because people who are looking in the first quarter of the year are really those planner parents who are trying to figure out where their child is going to go in the fall. And you like those kinds of parents who are very involved in their child's school, to want to come to your school and learn more about it. We really encourage you to, open your school up or your school activities to new parents now, so that they can, start that journey with you into the fall. And then in the summer months, make sure you are regularly, having events so that parents have lots of options to come and see you, your staff, and your other students.
The only other thing I would add there is just make sure that you make it really clear on your website that you have these events available. You just never know what people are going to want, what they're going to engage with, what they're willing to share their information to. So making these events very present on your website is a great tactic too.
Yeah, even a page called events that you can get from your homepage is really a great way to do it, and shouldn't be too hard to keep up. Because website content now is a lot easier to maintain than it ever used to be. And then if you're dealing with older students and you have events, I would suggest that you look at things like setting up what's in this screenshot right here is a Snapchat filter that you can actually put up that will show the older students that you kind of know what you're doing. You kind of, you're a cool school. You know how to do this. And again, very easy to figure out how to do. If I can do it, anybody can, believe me. if you actually just go out and search for and explore how to do some of these things. It's not rocket science. They make it very easy for you, and especially for middle school and older students, this is a really cool thing to do, to actually, have a school that attracts them in their own words and in their own channels. It's a pretty cool thing. So with that, we've gone through the whole funnel. We've gone through probably a lot of information about mysterious things like SEO and paid media. Again, this digital marketing ebook will have more information for you on that. Then, I will always answer emails from prospective, folks out there who are listening to this webcast today. Send us emails. We'll try and get your questions answered. And we are just very grateful for your presence today and looking forward to having you engage with your enrollment marketing efforts a little bit differently, if you like. Right?
Absolutely. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. We appreciate all of you.